We're WILDEN and we make gardens as part of a mission to reconnect people with nature. In this series, we kickstart a special project. Our senior designer, Farah, is making her own garden. In this episode, we set out the design and talk through some important decisions before we break ground.
So this is a very typical meadows plot, middle-sized garden. The whole area is 330 meters squared. If you look at the whole area, the front is a significant chunk of most of the gardens that you see here. One of the challenges that we had is when we first bought the house, the one thing I didn't like, this is a different community, so they see so much into it. It's not just about privacy, it's more about what facade you see when you're sitting in the garden. You know, I'd like to see more green or more sculptural elements, and seeing this rows of housing over here is something that I knew initially I wanted to hide.
So what you're saying is actually the view from your villa at your neighbours' buildings is more important to you than their views into the garden. Yeah, that's interesting.
At the same time, I don't like a hedge or a fence, and I'm not going to make the boundary wall higher by adding on a fence because you're sitting in a garden, you're sitting in a space, and I didn't want to feel like it's even more enclosed inwards.
What were the couple of the key views from inside the villa looking at the garden?
These three. So this you see straight from the front door. This space over here is more of a movement space, so it's more visual. And then this is basically dining and lounging. So it'll be great to have some views outside once you're sitting inside.
So you have these two big picture frame windows from where we're sat here, and also your bifold doors in the middle. So your garden is visible from across the whole of the back of your house, which is awesome. I think what's really interesting in the design, you've almost divided the garden in 3/3 to reflect that indoor and outdoor relationship.
Correct. So I did it in thirds, but I also didn't want to completely create thirds. I still tried to join these two as one and then this as another, just because of the proportion of how you overlay. Because this is an access, and then these two are access points, I didn't want to create a corridor. I wanted the corridor to be part of the usable space, similar to what this room does basically in the house.
Yeah, so what are your goals for your garden?
It's a big ask for someone that's been dreaming of doing her garden for a long time. And also, obviously, because it's what I do and my passion. Since we did the house inside, I feel like I can't wait to use this to its full potential. It's for me to personally use it, like myself and my family and my husband. But it's also to showcase how gardens can be different to everything else. You know, when people come over, the first thing I tell them is, mind the garden. It's not a WILDEN design, it's not my style. So I think it's a reflection of who you are, and it's how you're going to start merging the personal and the professional together.
The pool needs to be confirmed early on because it affects many other processes in the garden. Improvements to the pool design are important, but they can pose a dilemma, as we discovered.
You've got a lot of space here. Between your fence line, are you having a fence? No. So actually all of this space in front of the pool is unused, doesn't have a function. So if you bring that forward, 30 centimeters, you're not losing anything. It's not eating into a usable space.
How comfortable is it if you want to sit on the steps and if it's very shallow, you're going to want to sit on 2 steps anyways.
Yeah.
Would it affect approvals? Because even the pool now, if you stand in it, it's very narrow. Yeah. It's a 2 meter wide.
The width of the pool here.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's something we definitely need to get Thomas's input on if you want to widen the pool.
I've chosen Plantorama as the contractor for my garden, and Thomas is on site to help finalize the way forward.
I don't know, obviously it's always nice to have a longer pool so that you can do your laps.
No, it's not going to be any longer. I was thinking, if anything, if we make it a little bit wider.
If you were to make it wider, then you'll have to push the planters back.
How does it impact the approvals process?
You have to do it all again. Yeah.
I don't think it's worth it.
No, think about it, because you know, it's a big decision. Do what you want to do.
What do you wish people knew just to make things easier through a project like this?
Every time you make a change to the design, you're delaying the project. So it would be good if they could finalize everything at the beginning. As soon as they start going, oh, I kind of want to do this, it may seem like a small thing that they're changing, but for example, one of the things is we wanted to add just a single step to the pool, but we're going to have to totally resubmit the drawings, which, you know, maybe it's a week of delay, maybe it's 2 weeks of delay. If the original plans are stuck to, no issues. When you're adding little changes here and there, it may seem small, but it can add a lot to the overall time.
Gardens require skill, care and patience with a reciprocal relationship with people. The art of making gardens can be complex, just like nature. So it requires a collaborative attitude to solve problems from the whole team, from first breaking ground to completion and beyond.
I think what we've seen as a symptom of cities growing very rapidly is gardens shrinking and becoming poorer and poorer quality with too many man-made materials, too many toxic materials, and often the earth being, you know, heavily paved over with concrete and other hard surfaces. I think our goal is to really let the earth breathe and to build that connection between humans and the land again. There's a huge amount of love and energy that goes into a project like this. You know, it's a real collaboration. And while we start with a vision and design, there's a lot that happens along the process to develop and improve that design along the way. And this part of the process is just as important, if not more important than the design. There's a lot of blood, sweat and tears that go into it, particularly from the labourers. And we want to reveal the curtain on that.
We're looking forward to receiving the green light from the authorities to start work on the pool soon. Join us in the next episode and we'll have some major construction underway. Until then, stay wild.
Hey, I'm Will and this is Farah. We're from WILDEN Design. We have a question here from Katia Polestruk and she asks us, are there any local planting or construction guides that you use in the UAE?
So for planting, we either refer to the Ministry of Environment. They've released a bunch of publications about the native plants and grasses in the UAE. There's also a book called Landscape Plants of Arabia that we also refer to. But all of these are just sometimes theoretical. You don't find them in nurseries, so we depend a lot on our nursery suppliers. We speak to them what's in stock, what they can grow, and what's available at that moment in time.
And in terms of construction guides in the UAE, resources here are quite limited, aren't they? There's nothing specific to garden design and construction. However, we're building our own internal resources, which will be free for the public very soon. Our guardianship guide will have lots of information about how to build the garden, where to start, what contractors to use, how to budget your garden, and how to build it successfully as well. So watch out for that, it's coming soon. Thank you for your question, Katia.